Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 33 of the podcast, Jump Into Success. Alrighty, let's go. Okay, hello. I hope you are well and all is good with you and the sun is shining. Spring has definitely arrived. The temperature's rising. The flowers are blooming. The sap is rising. The leaves are coming out. It's all good. And we are moving towards some nice warmer weather. Pretty soon we'll be sat in the garden having a glass of wine. Looking forward to that. Now then, those of you who will be eagle-eyed and eagle-eared, no doubt, will have noticed that we've missed a couple of weeks. And so apologies for that. But the main reason is that we've just been so blinking busy. So busy here at the college. It's just been crazy with lots of different projects going on, some for the website, some with the professional bodies, some very exciting things happening around coach accreditation, some exciting things happening on the website to do with digital certificates and a whole bunch of other things, some new courses. And to say that it's been busy would be an understatement. Plus, of course, I was unwell for a couple of days, which set everything back a little bit. But anyway, we're back here. And one other thing, we're going to move from being a weekly podcast to a monthly one for a while. The reason being, as I already said, it's just crazy busy. And it was proving to be just a bit too much. And I didn't want to let people down. So we're going to go to monthly. We may do occasional extra ones in between if we have some exciting things to share, or we have an interview with somebody we think, oh, we can't wait for another month. Let's get it out there straight away. Now, excuse me. So for today, something slightly different, actually. One of our Coach Finder registrants colleagues has interviewed me, as it happens. And he wanted to do that because he said and felt that I would have, if I was asked the right questions, I'd be able to share some information that anybody interested in coaching would like to learn. I've been in the industry a long time. And as he said, the answers are probably in my head. I just got to ask the right questions. So I was the interviewee on this podcast, and James interviewed me. And well, I think it was an interesting thing, actually, because I'm not normally interviewed for these things. So see what you think, and I'll wrap up at the end. Here's James interviewing me. Alrighty, well, here I am. And for a change today, I'm the person being interviewed, and I'm being interviewed by one of our Coach Finder members, Mr. James Bryant. So hello, James.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I think I'm a little bit nervous because I'm normally the one asking the question. So I think, this could be interesting or this could be quite scary. I don't know.
Well, the last time we spoke,
I was going to say, is this a Newsnight interview where I'm going to be grilled like a bad politician, or is this going to be something else?
I think we want to know all of the information that's inside of your head. Okay.
Oh my God.
And I think it's a great, the last time that we spoke, because I see you as a guru, and I think you've had so much expertise in the coaching world. I think as, a recently qualified coach in the last couple of years, it's actually nice for coaches that are looking to get into the space, or coaches that have recently become qualified, or established coaches to see what might be happening getting your thoughts on what's happening in the future of the coaching world. So that's why I thought this might be a good idea. And I pitched it to you, and you reluctantly said yes.
Yeah. So, I'm all yours.
So here we go. Everybody listening, my name is James Bryant. I'm the founder of The Mindful Gent. And I would like to ask Tony some very basic questions about coaching, but I think where Tony's really, as I said, so knowledgeable within this, because he is amongst students and he is teaching them and explaining really the ins and outs and what coaching is and what coaching isn't, and how the best way to get information and help and challenge clients. And that is, the best of the best in terms of coaching. And and for those listening who don't know Tony has or is the founder of the UK College of Personal Development. And how long's that been running for now, Tony?
Well, believe it or not, 26 years from way back when we first started. And it started off really as almost kind of a part-time project. And I look back over these past 26 years and I think, wow, what a journey we've been on, both myself and the team. It started off as a kind of we could do that, couldn't we? Chat in a beer garden with some friends who'd literally just kind of graduated in NLP. I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a college or an institution that just focused on personal and professional qualifications or development generally, but they had a standard that was actually, the joke that we said was, it'd be the John Lewis of the training world. That was the joke that we had amongst ourselves.
Right, wow, cool.
I know, yeah, we set ourselves high. And so
why not though?
Well, yeah, and at the time I was working in the corporate space, and I'd probably been there too long, and was, getting myself into trouble trying to find things to do that were a bit more challenging because the job had just become so easy. What it's like. You've been in a job a long time; it becomes easy. And so I took up the challenge laid down by a couple of my friends and colleagues to start a college, which, given I had no background in academia, really starting a college was definitely a stretch. Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and it's one of those things where there are lots of answers, but I guess the short answer that kind of makes most sense to most people, I wanted to do something that I felt was having an impact on the world. I'd come from a background of being involved in groups, the church and charities and CND and other things. But once I learned the power of personal development and NLP and coaching in particular, I thought, I really want to do something with this. And then that led to a conversation. Well, why don't you do something about that? And I thought, well, what? And then a couple of colleagues and friends said, well, if you want to do this, do it. Don't just talk about it. So they kind of laid down the challenge. Don't just talk it, do it. And I thought, do you know what? Yeah. And it kind of worked out lucky in a way, because I went into work one day, having made my mind up, right, I'm going to do this. And I resigned. And my boss just laughed at me. He said, what, you can't just leave? I said, well, of course I can leave. Hello, this is not prison. And he said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you have enough customers and money coming in from your new business to cover what I pay you? And I said, well, no, of course I don't. And he said, well, I don't think you should leave then. But I'll clearly want to do something. And he was really supportive. I know you want to do something. Go part-time here. And that was the best deal because my salary was adjusted that much. I mean, tiny amount. And they, and it was super flexible. I didn't even have to work the same days all the time. It was like mix and match. And that allowed me to have the freedom to build the college, build the business, build the relationships, the professional bodies, do all of the things you have to do when you're setting up an institute like we have. And I'll be forever grateful for that opportunity that, my old boss gave me.
I think it's a really good point and something I'm going to ask you about. What would your advice be to someone that was in a similar situation to you? I mean, similar situation to me. I was working as a surveyor within a corporate firm, and I gave up that job in order to become a coach. What would your advice be to someone who is thinking of transitioning into a coach who has a full-time job?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a coach, I wouldn't give advice, but if I was to, I would say just have a plan and have a resource, because you cannot go from corporate job 9 to 5, Monday to Friday or whatever, to running your own business and imagine that you can spend the same amount of money. So my advice always is to people is to start small, get your qualification, be a member of the professional body, act as if, and start with, a couple of coaching clients, maybe in the evenings or at weekends, and build it up slowly to the point where you think, okay, there is a gap, but it's a smaller gap than if I just quit my normal job and had nothing. And then, if you can, wriggle a sort of a deal with your employer to go part-time. And I think a lot of employers nowadays are fairly flexible. And, I think it'd be hard if they said, absolutely no way, what are you talking about? But I think most would probably go, well, okay, let's do one day and see what happens. But of course, when it came to me to go, right, I'm really going to leave now, that was a big elongated process because they really didn't want to let me go. Not because I'm so wonderful at my job, but it's just that I had so much knowledge of the business because I've been there for 100 years type of thing. There was knowledge in my head. So it was like, emptying my head of that stuff to other people. But, I still have an association with that company, the Outside Clinic, and I still, very much involved in sort of a supportive way for them. We still do some training for them every now and again, and they're great people.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, as you say, if you were to give advice, and it's not a decision to make lightly either, is it?
No, it's not.
And going down to if the option is there to going down, looking at options. We discuss options a lot in coaching. Going down to potentially a part-time role or doing it in the evening, outside of working hours, seeing how much you enjoy it, seeing if it is actually for you rather than just leaping over, doing it, at the weekends, out of hours, and getting a feel for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that way you'll do two things. One, you'll build a business if it is for you. And you might decide, actually, this is hard work, not what I thought I was signing up for. And yeah, I've got the skills and I can use them in my job. But I'm not sure I want to run a business, because I always say to people, running a business is different to training as a coach. It's one thing to train as a coach, get your certificate and all of that. But running a business or starting a business is a whole different skill set. It's not the same as being a coach. It's being a business owner.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you've got to network. You've got to promote your business. You've got to have a plan, you have a relationship with the bank, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to ask you a bit more about the school, really. What sort of who attends the school? What sort of person would attend the school?
Yeah. Well, it's a fairly broad spectrum because we offer a broad spectrum of programs and courses and qualifications. So anything from let's call it introductory personal development programs, costing maybe a tenner, right up to ILM level 7, for executive coaching and mentoring, costing $3,000. So within that, there is a big spectrum of students and members. I think the majority of our membership are people who are interested in bettering themselves, both personally and professionally. And within that sort of mindset of thinking, yeah, I want to grow and be more than I have before. Some want to start a business, some want to just grow professionally, personally. They pick whichever course seems to be appropriate for them. I guess the main qualification categories we have are professional qualifications from like the ANLP or the AC, and academic qualifications from the ILM. So that, and then obviously all of the other sort of smaller things that go around.
There are lots of words that even I don't understand there, and I'm a qualified coach.
Okay.
So some people that are listening and maybe looking to get into it, where would you suggest that they start?
Okay, if you're looking to study to become a professional coach, be it a life coach or in business or an organization or working with executives, whatever sort of level in that kind of spectrum that you want to work in or think you might want to work in, or indeed an NLP practitioner, always choose a program that's accredited. And accredited doesn't mean that the training organization give you a badge and says, oh, look, we're accrediting it. Because that's not accreditation. That's them saying, we're marvelous, have a certificate, you've passed whatever thing we've put in place to. And sometimes there isn't even a test or assessment or assignments. So if it's accredited by one of the main professional bodies, then it probably is going to be okay. And the main three, I mean, I get shouted at for saying this, but I will say it. The main three that you'll come across generally is the Association for Coaching, which is the main one in the UK, which is the one we're affiliated with. The ICF, mostly North American, but they do have a presence in Europe and in the UK, or the EMCC. There are a couple of other specialized ones, but generally they're the main ones. And interestingly, I was talking to the Association for Coaching only last week about their new coach accreditation program, and they reaffirmed that they all three of the main ones have this working relationship between each other, so to raise standards both in training and in professional practice. So that's quite nice to know. Once you pick one of them, you'll probably be all right. Okay.
So typically, Tony, after students complete the course, what might they use the course for?
Okay, good question. And that's changed over the years, I can tell you, a huge amount. When we first started, it was mostly people who wanted to use the skills within their life or the job that they had. I mean, looking back, I know there was like maybe one or two people would think about, I'm going to start a practice or a business. And then that changed a little bit as the years went on, but massively after the pandemic and COVID. It was creeping up anyway that more and more people wanted to start a business, and even if it was just a side hustle. But certainly after that, the majority, I would say, of the two groups that are running right now, I would say a good 80%, if not more, their intended stated outcome is to start a coaching business.
Okay.
It's changed a lot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And once they've finished their degree with you, what other offerings does the school suggest or offer or get them involved in if they do go with you post qualification?
Yeah, so we have a range of, I guess, ongoing support, which oddly enough is one of the things that we're most proud of, that you don't just fall off the edge the minute you get your certificate in the post. So we've got an ongoing program of CPD events, and it covers anything from revisiting coaching models to practice groups, to having guest speakers, to exploring new ideas, and of course, our formal professional supervision, group supervision. So a lot. Plus, if you want to start a business, we've got a whole new schema of support around that. You can join the Coaches Growth Club, which is a rolling program of training, development, coaching, support, mentorship to build your business, or practical as well as, do this and build your website like this, or do this. All of those kind of things that I'm not very good at, actually. But Steve, who runs all of that for the college, is brilliant at it. And of course, the Coach Finder, which is our brand new thing that we've launched, which is a directory of all qualified coaches that are qualified, insured, and professional. And we're rolling that out and promoting it more and more each month. And it's getting more traction and more, we got some really, really great feedback from that. So we really do support those who want to do it, because, thinking back when I first started, there wasn't a lot of support, quite frankly. But we thought, let's really go for it. And, the membership really appreciate all of that effort that we provide.
Fantastic. And I'm part of the Coach Finder myself, and it's a great way of showcasing. You've allowed me very kindly to be part of that, and it's a great way of showcasing your skills to people that are looking for coaching. So I encourage everyone to have a look at that. Where can they find that, Tony?
thecoachfinder.com.
Easy as that. So how important do you think a niche is in coaching? I get asked this question all the time by other coaches, people that are looking to get into the industry. James, you've done it. I deal with variety. Mine's very broad. But how important do you think a
Well,
niche is in coaching, Tony?
yeah, and I get asked a lot as well. And I think it can be useful when you start. And so this is my stock answer. I think it's useful when you start to have some kind of focus so that you've got something that's, I guess, a focus and a voice for a website or your Facebook page or spiel that you'll use if you're going to be a public speaker or something. It's something to talk about. I specialize in this. The downside of that is it can become a prison, and that's all you do. And that can become quite narrow and very thin very, very quickly. So I always say to the students when they graduate, pick something that you've got some experience in, probably. That's where most niches come from. I've got experience in something, but don't let it become a prison. Also have a broad practice as well. But that can be a focal point. But I wouldn't let it become the only thing I do, because I think that will become quite a homogenous and quite dull, quite frankly. For you, the coach, never mind the coachee.
Yeah, I agree. I also think coaching is very versatile. The questions that we are asking they are adaptable to kind of almost every situation, because we aren't that person. We're not the expertise in the area. We're just following coaching questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and obviously when you go through your diploma and you listen for certain words or reactions or things that clients are doing or saying that you might not be for them. They might need to be in another practitioner's care, for example, therapy or counseling or psychotherapy or whatever else there is. But with coaching, that we are obviously within the coaching boundary, but there is a lot to explore with coaching questions. And asking the right open questions leads the client to a world of possibilities, I believe.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty and the power of coaching, is that I don't have to be an expert in the thing that person works in. So, my coaching clientele range from, accountants, quite a lot of, for whatever reason, lawyers and solicitors, to generalized business people who work in the corporate space, to somebody who just wants to turn their life around, just going to come on garden life coaching. So it can be any of those things. It's just the power of the questions and the structure, the coaching structure, that takes the person through a process. That's what's really powerful.
Tony, this leads me on. I don't want to get too deep into this, but it's a very topical question, particularly at the moment, about how much to charge as a coach. I wondered what the school recommend.
Okay, great question. Because again, that's one of the questions all of the students pretty much ask. I've qualified now. How much should I charge? And I said, well, how much do you want to charge? I got to go, well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. And so I always say, well, depending on the niche you've decided, or if you're going to be generalized coaching, look around in your area, what other people are charging as a nominal type fee, and just go slightly below that to start with, so that you've got an economic edge, I suppose, a price edge. But then as your confidence and your practice increases and your reputation as being effective and powerful and great, then you start to creep your price up. And that's the advice I always give all of the graduates, because you can't suddenly go, oh, I've qualified, I'm going to charge 10 grand an hour. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating for effect, but for sure, if you work in business, it's going to be probably a bit more than if you work in life coaching. But generally, I think about what the average price is in the area you sort of operate in, slightly below that. And then as your confidence, your practice increases, your reputation, and that's important, of being, so you're going to get testimonials on your website or wherever, then you creep your price up. That's, I think, a fairly sound strategy.
And I think what you just mentioned about testimonials is really important. If you are willing to do pro bono work, so work without being paid, then I always advise, if people that have asked me about this question, that, at least ask the person to, agree with you that if they're happy with
Yeah.
with your coaching, that they might write you a testimonial so that you can put on your website, so you're able to put in your signature on your email, or further on your on your LinkedIn and etc. Because that is where potential clients may come across you, and it's nice to see them.
Yeah, I agree. And, because depending on what level of qualification you look at, you're going to be doing hours for your portfolio. And I always tell people, look, don't just do your mates and your immediate family. In fact, we don't do your family because that may lead to difficulties. But, your friends, but your friends' friends, get them to introduce you when you're doing your practice hours. And because they could become part of your network, become part of your paying customers when you're good and ready. So begin with the end in mind. Think, yeah, I am going to be building a business, so I need to start thinking about, who's going to be my customers. And the other thing I always tell people, you come from a job. Most people will come to this industry from some kind of job, corporate job. That's your first network to go into. They're the people who think, look, I've got this new qualification. I can do some and maybe discounted work because I've worked here for 17,000 years and blah, 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 blah. But that's a great place to start. That's what I did, and it certainly worked for me.
And it's great advice, because they know you and they know your intention, and they know you the way that you are. They know that you have, you have good values, and you might share the same values or share the same beliefs. So it's a great, as you say, I think that's a great place to start with your own black book. Who's closest to you. Why is it that coaches it's suggested to coaches that they don't coach close family or potentially friends?
Well, only because it can lead to conflict, because, sometimes your family and your friends just want to have a chat. But of course, once you're first qualified, you're full of enthusiasm to ask those questions, because you can. And they'll go, you're doing that thing, aren't you? You're doing the coaching thing. I just want to have a beer with you. Stop asking that. And even if you're not doing it, it seems like you're doing it, because instinctively you will be asking kind of questions that are like opening up all these windows in people's heads. So it can lead to conflict. And then the other side of that coin is, if even it goes okay, and I'm helping you out by doing this for you to get your hours, they're only going to say nice things about you. They're not going to give you any realistic feedback. Yeah, it was really great, but did you not notice I was saying this, or whatever? So chances are the feedback is going to be fairly, vanilla, for want of a better word.
Okay.
I think the first couple of hours maybe, but after that you really need to stretch a little bit, because the real world is going to be very different to your best mate.
And speaking of feedback, how important is it to you as founder of a school and many students that have qualified under your degree scheme? Is it that they go on to have some sort of supervision in the future, Tony?
Well, I think it's a requirement of the professional body that you carry on your supervision and CPD. So I think it's vital that they do that, which is why we provide all of the plethora of options and services that we do. I mean, there was a reason why we hired somebody with the qualifications that she has. Dr. Millbrook. Seabrook rather. She is a PhD in supervision. There's a reason we employed her. She's the one with the way more experience than me. I trained as a supervisor, but this lady is like, wow. And so we see the value of it. So we, partnered with her to come and join the college. And, the students absolutely lap it up, because they know, what she does with them is just so powerful. And the feedback we get from those supervision sessions is, it glows, quite frankly. It's very, very positive. One of the best things that we did.
I can imagine. And I think personally, for me, having a supervisor, it is extremely important, because we don't know everything, and there's going to be certain scenarios that you're put in either, in session or outside of session, that you've in your CPD, or if a client asks you something, or you discuss a client, you're not going to know the answer, and you're going to want to discuss it with someone who is able to direct you into, the right space. So,
and also it's also quite rejuvenating. It's kind of restorative. I'm sharing my experience, my successes as well as my challenges. Remember, it's not just about the challenges, it's about my successes. I've had really great feedback from this client. I want to share it with, especially in group supervision. I'm a great fan of group supervision. I think in many ways that's more powerful because there's a more sort of I guess, intellectual and emotional learning by the whole group rather than just the one-to-one, which can feel a bit, well, for me anyway, quite intense and sometimes exhausting.
Can someone approach you to just be supervised under this, under your doctorate lady? Sorry, I forgot her name. Can they approach you and just say, I need some supervision? Can I join?
It's all on the website. You can just book in any time.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Oddly enough, somebody today who's not a graduate of the college, somebody else said, look, I'd like to join your supervision group. Is that cool? Yeah, of course. Here are all the benefits of doing that.
I think that's a great thing to have. Tony, what about the future of coaching now? With all different tech and the tools, techniques, obviously, that are available to not only us as coaches, but also our clients, leads me on to, coaching and AI, really. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, and I know there are lots of things springing up all over the place. Your sort of digital AI coach. And I mean, I guess they've got a place. Personally, I don't think it can replace a real human being with empathy. I don't think a computer piece of software is going to have empathy or be able to notice what's really going on in someone's face and be able to, that seems to be a pain point or a emotional point or a joy point, calibrating something's really going on for that person. Let's explore what that really means to them. I think it can be a useful thing maybe at the front end of a coaching program for somebody to sort out a few ideas about what's important, almost like a digital coaching wheel, life wheel or something, maybe, but where it just answers questions you type in or even voice. I wouldn't do it, put it that way. If I had a difficulty or a challenge in life and I thought, I'm going to look in for some coaching, I would have a human being. That's my personal view. And I know some of these things, and I've seen some of them demoed, quite impressive, but
it's really interesting having different people give their different opinion, obviously, because it's ever evolving. And as you say, technology and AI can't, I don't think, and is ever going to replace human empathy, as you said. It's just not the same. It's not quite the same. Well, it isn't the same.
No, I don't think so.
But I think we can agree that, of course, have a look at AI and see what it says about X, Y, and Z. And then maybe let's break it down and really discuss how you feel about it. And I think it's really important to do that. I'm certainly not shy of HR. I think bring it on, but you've got to be, as you said, you've got to be wary of it also. It only spits out the information that you give.
And I think there've been plenty of examples where these large language models hallucinate and imagine things to be so. So I don't think it's not quite what it says it is yet. Maybe one day it will be. I mean, I don't know. It's accelerating so fast. Who knows? But at the moment, I wouldn't trust it for that kind of quite intensive. And I always think, but one of the things we say in the training for coaches is, remember, you're becoming somebody who's going to be sat in front of another human being, and you're going to be holding that space where they open up about their most important thing in their life that they want to change or talk about.
Sure.
And I think that's pretty special, and I'm not sure I'd want to give that over to a piece of software.
Tony, my last question is about burnout amongst coaches.
Yeah.
Okay. I know how hard it is to sometimes do, multiple sessions within a day.
Yeah.
And it can be, speaking to someone and taking all of what they have to say in, writing it down, potentially memorizing it, and then building up this, structure, as we've spoken, or what that you think might help them in terms of asking specific questions in order to get them further in their journey. Okay, this is all deep kind of work stuff. Okay, we do that a lot as coaches, and I think more and more now we're seeing that burnout amongst coaches is becoming more discussed. Okay, how do you personally manage your stress levels?
Yeah, it is a thing. And I think it was last year, we were interviewing another very successful coach, and she was saying she'd read somewhere, and I've not been able to find it, that the average life of a practicing coach is about 4 years, and after that they just can't handle it. And I was fascinated by that.
Wow.
I mean, I've been doing this for much longer than 3 or 4 years, so I think maybe I'm the odd one out. I don't know, but I think you have to be realistic. And if you think you can do 9 to 5, back to back, 6 or 7 coaching clients in a day, you're completely wrong. I'm going to tell you now, you cannot do it, because you won't last till the end of the week. It's too exhausting. And I suggest strongly to graduates that they set themselves, 2 or 3 per day, 4 if you must, but have gaps, big gaps between, because otherwise you're just going to be, and it's not fair on the person who's 4th, because they're not going to get the best of you. And have breaks, have a couple of days where you don't see anybody. Always have those breaks. Have a CPD program so you're being nourished and refreshed. Definitely supervision, and don't take it too seriously, and protect yourself. If somebody comes to you, a client with a lot of baggage, it's their stuff. It's their stuff. So be in that state, that professional coach state, where you're protecting yourself. And have a mechanism to unload all of that. That doesn't mean making a bottle of whiskey, because that's not cool, and that can be a problem where you think, oh, I can relax if I have a drink. Yeah, fine, but go for a nice walk, get out and see the sunlight, or spend time with your friends. It doesn't have to be medicate yourself, because I know recently had a person say, well, what I need to relax is I have a drink, and then that leads to another drink, and then I realize I'm really drinking. And I'm thinking, right, well, long term, that's not going to work for you, because you're just going to become a drunk, alcoholic, and you're going to damage yourself. And how will you be the next morning if you've been drinking, all night long for your clients? That's not going to fly. So I think, a mixture of all of those strategies can be useful, but you have to look after yourself. If you want to help people, be strong. That's the bottom line. You can't help people if you're weak. That doesn't work. So you need to look after yourself, healthy, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You need to be grounded, and there are lots of techniques and things available for you to do that, all of which I've just mentioned, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I know a lot. Thank you for that. It's really clear, and I think it's a really nice structure that you set with your students about not working, above your threshold of what you can physically produce, and the good work that you can that you can give. And I think that's really important. I discuss a lot to do with well-being and wellness with my clients, and I think it really sets a good foundation of what is to come. If you, as you say, if you're fit, if you're having enough sleep, if you're hydrated, if you're getting outside, I know these things are basic things, but sometimes we do just forget that we need a little reminder.
Yeah, I think, we were saying earlier, before we started the recording, last week, I was working so hard, back-to-back weekends and evenings. And, you know, that was the Thursday last week, and I was working at the weekend as well. I just felt, I'm tired. And I needed to take a moment to really go, right, you're doing too much. Step away and build in a break, which we did do. And I felt much, much better for that. But, you know, even me, you know, with all the experience and knowledge that I have, you know, because sometimes opportunities come up and you just want to do it and do it and do it. Working on this project, working on that project, you know, doing different things. Think, hang on a second. Less can be more. Take some time, take a breather, get outside, go with some friends, do whatever it takes.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for letting me interview you today. I think I've really enjoyed it. And I hope everyone listening has got the benefit of just listening to you and having a chat about, you know, what's coming up in, you know, what people ask you and the knowledge that you have. I hope that's come across. If anyone wants to reach out to me, they're more than welcome to do that. They can find me on Instagram at The Mindful Gent, or my website, of course, themindfulgent.com. Please reach out. I'd be great to hear from you.
Brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed it. It's been great. And maybe we'll do another one in a couple of years and see how we've evolved.
Absolutely. I'd love it. I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks very much, James. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tony. Bye.
The air gap between. Okay, well, there you go. What did you think of that? Pretty interesting, I think, and different. So I will catch you on the next podcast. Till then, take care of yourselves and bye for now.